Hey y'all, I'm back. Just as I was ending the stream, Bex tried to get backstage, and I really wanted to talk to her about this topic. So I think I'm going to do a part two, and it's going to be just me and Bex. Um, Let me just get it posted on social media real quick, and Bex is going to join us in a bit. Um, oh wait, what is this? I didn't mean to put that there. All right, real quick. All right, welcome back, Plasma Bones, everybody else. It got weird there for a second. I have no idea what happened. It just went dead silent. And speaking of trust, that really threw me. Hey, Bex.
Good morning, Jeff and chat, or good afternoon or good evening, depending on where you all are.
Good, yeah, panel time.
Yes. Yes. I
GM,
was
someone
just
told me
entering the
GM.
room. I had just entered your other stream and I was like, what? And so here we are.
I know, just as I had already hit end stream and I saw you pop in. I'm like, shit. Because I want to talk to you in particular about this topic because we've had many conversations about it.
Yes. Yeah, I know when I first started, I've always used the term "my friend." When I greet people, "Hello, my friend." Especially if I've seen you before and I'm working or in a position of hosting or something like that. And I used that out here on YouTube when I started my channel, and it was something I was actually criticized for. Some people thought it was some form of neuro-linguistic programming. Um, or not thought that it was, but accused it of being something sort of like minor love bombing, I guess. But I was
What was
for
the love bombing?
just constantly calling people my friend, like as a host on my channel. I'd be, oh, welcome, my friends, or how you doing, friends? And there were some people out there that in some of the critical videos done of my content, would say that, look what she's trying to program you. How can you, she doesn't even know you, why would she call you friend? So I saw it as sort of people sort of associating it with a bit of minor love bombing. But for me, it's just a social tick, we'll call it, or whatever, a good one,
Yeah.
something that's what I do. But I was forewarned when I first started my channel that many people on YouTube, they call it internet friends in quotation mark. um they don't
To distinguish them from real life
from
friends.
real life friends. Yep. And it took me a while to sort of understand what that meant. And that's when
It's
I came
I
up with,
wonder if it's like
yeah,
bar friends. In the gay world, you have your bar friends. You see them at the bar. You might form like year-long relationships with them, but outside of the bar, you never have anything to do with. Like they're not part of your life.
yeah, I think that's likely a good analogy, especially since a bar setting is, a place where you're going to get a heightened aspect of people's motivations, right? Whether it's just joy and dancing, whether it's hooking up with someone, so you might not get people at their most earnest,
Right.
they're just
And then
yeah.
if you do have genuine friends that you met in the bar, it usually happens outside of the bar. You'll start having some additional relationship that doesn't involve the bar. And then that's how they move to that second circle of friendship.
Exactly. So the analogy there would be becoming friends with people behind the scenes. Um, I would think,
Right,
whether
and
it be a Telegram
I've
or.
tried that, and that that didn't go the way it goes in real life either.
I liked how Joe summed it up though, with the idea that some people are out in the world wanting to better themselves and better other people. Now that may seem pious to someone listening, which it's just simple. It's simple terms, right? Because we could say, oh, some people want to learn. They want to learn more and teach more and share their knowledge with other people. So it's not about a good or bad behavior. It's just like it doesn't have to look like we're judging what other people are doing off the hop with the I'm going to better myself and better other people. uh um I, for instance, I've never been a heroin addict, right? Doesn't mean I'm going to dismiss somebody who's a heroin addict because they're doing something I've never done. I can still better myself and offer something to them if they want it, in terms of betterment. And then Joe was saying that but some people don't. That's not their motivator, right? And I think online we get, not that that their motivation isn't doesn't come from a these are words that can be criticized, a more benevolent place.
I guess that's part of the confusion is how do you know why somebody's really coming to a channel or are really part of a community? Because there's people that I take on good faith that are here for motivations that I think they're here for, and then I question that when I look at the larger panelverse.
Hmm. Some people, there's a lot of people that have a savior complex. That's one of the reasons. Not, and I don't mean like savior complex, like Messiah complex. I mean like that see something happening to someone and want to come in and and protect that person, but they their protection motivates them, so the desire to protect motivates them so much it skews their ability to connect. Like it's almost like they're being the observer
That's
watching
that
what's happening.
tribal, like tribalism. They're white knighting for their tribal totem figure.
Yeah, yeah. Like I know for me, I had people come in when I was really in the onslaught of it, like I guess almost a year ago now, probably more like 9 or 10, 11 months. But I had a couple people befriend me almost with an agenda, like this is what I have to do, and all they were telling me this is what I have to do, and and we'll help you do it. But when I said, oh no, I don't want to do that, they turned on me and became as bad as the people that they were
Oh,
trying
when
to
you
protect me
you
from.
wouldn't let them save you or become their
Yeah,
project.
yeah, yeah. I wouldn't follow the steps. And by the time that they said, I find it very strange. It's stranger that you're not doing this than that this person is doing this to you, or these people are doing this
It's
to you.
this weird like reverse standard where
Yeah. Well, actually, and I thought it's the perfect form of virtue signaling, right? Because there's nothing virtuous to it. So go back to this heroin addict, it's analogy, right? So, or let's say my neighbor's being, I hear violence coming from my neighbor's home, and I knock on the door. It's not a good example but anyways, I knock on the door and I'm like, oh, hey, do you need help? And I do it a few times. And then when they won't take my help, I start beating them, like,
right.
fine, you want to be beaten? you know?
You could take my help or pay the price.
Yeah. And so they never really wanted to help. They wanted the
Yeah.
attention from being the helper.
You
And
were a
when they couldn't
prop.
get that, yeah. Now, I also, I would say that some of what I learned out here and quickly was that there wasn't going to be a win. And if I was going to be trolled, or like that I could do actions that would make hundreds of people angry just by talking to someone,
Yeah.
and many of these people had already been judgmental and angry, or, and I would, mean might be a strong word now that I've been through all this, but I also could just be Stockholm. Anyways, I would say, that they, oh, I think I lost my thought, but that they were mean, you know.
Do you
So it's,
are there people you have come to trust?
yes, although a
And how
very
did that
small
happen?
handful. Um, Time. But see, I had a conversation probably 6 or 8 months ago behind the scenes. I had a live stream that I said to anyone who wants to come up and chat with me, feel free. And Flo came up. Flo and I had only had a conversation or two, and he's a pretty, black or white kind of guy. Very, the way he defines things, and he said to me that, and this is something I'd never practiced, that he's a guy that doesn't give out trust. Like people earn it, you know, like it's silly to trust people,
Yeah.
you know?
I think trust is earned and
And
respect.
I'm someone who too readily gave it out, and that was exploited online. Now, I also learned that you kind of have to act like, and I don't mean act is the wrong thing, but I got there was only a handful of letters that would come into my Bexx Factor email, like, or emails that would come into my email that were supportive, right? So when they'd come in, especially 3 or 4 months later, I'd be super suspicious, right? Like, because why now? You know, like, especially some of these people that I knew, that I knew as chatters. So it could have been an imposter pretending to be someone. But I always took them as legit, sent a nice thank you, and nothing more. And because, yeah, I'd learned already to be suspicious of everybody.
I'm thinking what you said about because I have that tendency too. I trust until someone gives me a reason not to. Because I think if you're going to build community or form friendships, you have to put a little bit of trust in the pot to begin. It's an initial investment, and then you see how that trust grows from there. And so I'm willing to give a pretty generous amount of trust up front until I have a reason to like start managing my risk a different way. But you're saying, and that usually works for me in real life. But you're
It
saying
does
in
for
the
me as well.
panelverse, it might be I might have to unlearn that tendency and start to see people more cynically from the start and then gradually give them that initial investment.
Yes. And yet I'd also say that in order to maintain consistency of character, you have to maintain at least for me, I've maintained the appearance of that kind of trusting of people. Right. So just
So
because I
even
think
if
a
you're not
chatter might,
actually doing it, they don't know that.
yeah. And I wouldn't say I'm being fake on a panel. It's more from myself to chat. It's more the chatters. I would tell my chatters on my channel all the time, I don't trust any of you guys. Right. Like,
Yeah, I'm
but I'd
telling you
laugh
right now,
and
I don't trust
chuckle.
any of you motherfuckers.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Um,
don't. There's very few of you that I 100% am certain where you lie.
Well, yeah, and the beauty of that is that you can still treat it like you trust it and still tell them you don't trust them, and it's not really damaging to anyone, right? So depending on the comment, it just can be a funny interaction to have and to learn about that over giving of trust. Because this is what I've learned. People think only the FBI are profilers, that only people have, there's, or headhunters might have a profilers working in their department to get good CEOs and stuff, but ultimately we've been told that profilers are professionals, you know and in fact, no, there's a lot of people on YouTube that, well, not a lot, but some of the people on YouTube are very experienced profilers. Like, they've read the
Well, they
books.
so far they suck. I'm not impressed with anybody's profiling skills in the panelverse.
Well, what I would say is that they've profiled, for their prey.
Oh, like they can they can pick out vulnerability. Well, that's what
Yeah.
predators, sociopaths, narcissists do. They have this ability to like sense a certain type of vulnerability that they could prey on that healthy people just would not be giving off.
Yes, and this was actually one of my favorite moments in my learning on YouTube. Was I was feeling like I was prey and imagining a wolf and a rabbit, say. And then I was like, but I know we're all humans. And I come from a family of narcissists, right? There is narcissistic behavior, and my father's a doctor. I would say typically most doctors are on the scale of sociopathy. They're closer to the end of sociopathy with learned empathy, and they want to prove to the world they're very smart by keeping people alive. It's a very good asset in a doctor to be able to disconnect and not have
Hmm.
emotion, you know? And so I realized I had that stock in me. And with my neurodivergence, it actually seemed that way at times, right? So there was a moment where I was like, I'm no fucking rabbit. I'm a wolf too, right? I could be a wolf too. And I don't mean like, oh, I'm going to go out and prey upon it, because now we're talking wolf on wolf. There is no rabbit,
Yeah.
you know?
Do you think the
And
panelverse is generally wolf on wolf, and all these people LARPing as rabbits are just trying to
some,
pull
yep,
a bit?
yep.
I see very few actual rabbits out here.
Well, and I think that's part of I think that people that have been out here for a long time, I would say that once you've gotten in connection with, say, that wolf in you, even if some people never see it, so I'll add that little corollary, because there's some people that don't see me that way. Um, or if as someone's listening to me say this, they'll say, oh, she's just trying to find flowery words for being manipulative. But when I'm being manipulated, right, by hundreds of people, yeah, my instinct was to manipulate back, and it was really easy. Go hang out and find out why they hate someone so much, right? Like, why do y'all hate this person? Oh, I'm gonna go talk to them. Oh, well, now you hate me more. Well, that's ridiculous, right? That's ridiculous. It's just my point is that I think it can end up. Some people have been out here for so long doing this ping ponging with people that they've actually developed some sort of initiation or hazing ritual, like a fraternity, or um, yeah, like the very secret societies they claim to abhor, you know, in a simulation experiment. You know, obviously we're not in any kind of cloaked ritual where somebody's like bloodletting or something like that. Um, but that's what a lot of people in this trutherverse, you know, are all like, oh my gosh, the people at the top are being so mean, and you know, people have to go through all these. It's like, well, we're in this simulation here, and it seems to me there's a lot of that going on, you know. And I'm not. Just want to be clear that I don't see myself as a victim, even if there was a point in time where I know there was a level of organization coming at me, you know, because it's so far past that, and I've mostly grown past it, that I rarely am fazed by any of this. You know, it doesn't affect my real life anymore. But like I said, I don't let a lot of people in, you know. So
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. It's
yeah, it's some of these yeah, some of the people that I've spoken the most to out here, uh I have never had conversations behind the scenes with, and that may have been detrimental to the end result.
because you're right. That's when some of the additional trust starts to develop when it's not on stream. Because on stream you have you there's an audience that anybody could be playing to at any time, and so off stream conversations remove that, and it gives like that container for intimacy to form. But even in those situations, I've had experiences where trust gets demolished.
Yeah, I've learned, like, already when you and I met, you know, and when I came to your Discord and started hanging out and watching TV with you guys, I was already at a phase where I knew that no matter what I said back there, not to accuse any of your Discord people in any personal way, I already knew that I could be being taped, and to be mindful of that, not by you, you know, but that there would be people that might come in to a conversation just to record it, um, just to use things against people. Now, I didn't have any reason to think anyone in your Discord was doing that, but I already had heard of a history of especially content creators who did that to each other, whether it's voice phone calls or messages or private conversations, that they had already used those sound bites to manipulate each other, you know, over a year and a half ago. And
Maybe that's another thing that I'm trusting is that I'm not being manipulated. Like how do you know how can you trust that somebody's not manipulating you for their purposes versus genuinely just having a authentic connection with you? And I guess
yeah,
that's something I think that shows up in real life too. Like I don't even know if that's necessarily limited to the panelverse.
yeah, I mean, I think the one of the benefits of this simulation is learning that, um, learning to identify people's motivations. Uh, that people do have motivations, you
Are
know,
you
to do
good
things.
as a neurodivergent person? Are you good at that? I struggle with that so hard. Every time I think I have the motivation right, it's never what I think it is.
I'm probably think I'm better at it than I am,
Like
you
Dunning
know.
Kruger.
Uh, yeah. Uh, I think too, a lot of people get hung up on what someone did or said yesterday out here. And I'm not, maybe yesterday's too close, but 4 months ago, 6 months ago, you know,
Well, part of it's
uh,
just pattern, Rick. Like you're forming a pattern of people. So something 4 months ago could be significant to that pattern.
it's true. But also, in that characteristic on YouTube, a lot of people don't allow, they don't really as observers, um, allow themselves to see growth almost in some ways. Like, so for instance, I over a year and a half ago was totally brainwashed into many conspiracy theories, and I started waking up to that. And one of the biggest content creators out here that I've talked to a lot actually helped me with that, regardless of what other content he creates. You know, yourself as well, standing on real world compared to how conspiracy theorists view things, helped me because I wanted to. I knew I'd been brainwashed. But so you could go out and find all sorts of live streams out there where I'm saying the craziest things, like the craziest things, about these whatever, whether it's about secret societies. And I'm not saying that
Yeah.
that's, whether it's about quote unquote satanic rituals, you
The
know,
snake people.
um, yeah, all sorts of stuff like that, right? Now, as I woke up, I don't, as I started waking up to some of the things that allow myself to believe to be true, but weren't observably true for me, I had to start tossing that stuff aside. And that was one of the main reasons I started my channel. Was I was tired of listening to people loop, whether they were like talking about sky watching or, and I don't mean to diss people. There's a lot of targeted individuals. That's one of the big ones. Was I never thought I was targeted, but I could see what they were talking about in terms of, I saw it in real life. I saw people in real life that seemed to be behaving like they were targeted. And I'm just saying, but then it started started sounding like nonsense. It's like everybody in 2020, maybe even before then, but definitely by 2020 in quarantine, there seemed to be this cultural desire amongst free thinkers to save the world, right? That's what it seemed to be like. Oh, if we decode everything, we can figure out what's going on here and we'll save the world. Like they were shut in
Like
their houses. Like,
Pizzagate on a global scale.
exactly. That Pizzagate into that QAnon is, most people out here wouldn't admit it, but many people have been down that rabbit hole, and it shows. It
It shows.
it shows, right? And
The
I'm way
Pizzagate is
on the
strong on this one.
well, I'm way on the other side. I'm so on the other side of it that I don't really care. That's one of the reasons why people think I'm heartless or whatever, is like, if you think that people can harvest something from young people and tiny little people, independent of abuse, because I'm just saying, people out there literally think that people are harvesting the young for their
Yeah.
pineal gland,
Yeah.
And I'm
And
trying
they
to be
kind
vague
of, that's
here.
like a variation of the satanic panic from the 80s when they
Mm-hmm.
thought there were these pedophilic cults.
Yep. I kept calling it the satanic. I was calling it, everyone telling them they were in a satanic panic. And it was Benton that corrected me and said, can you change it can you add a word or something? Because that was something in the 80s that really happened. He was in Arkansas, and it was closer to his home, right? There's some
Yeah.
one of those main stories. So I started calling it the nouveau satanic panic. And I would go so far as to say, if you think people can get high or be made young, right, by the harvesting of this chemical, then do it in front of me. Well, now I'm the heartless one because I'm telling you to, find a baby and do all that, right? Again, this is a thought experiment. This is a simulation, right? But if it's not observably true for me, right, I'm not going to believe that it's even possible. Like, and I would not want, and I would suggest someone do that because for the shock value, of course, you're not going to do that. Now, I look like the bad guy because you've been brainwashed to think something can happen that you can't actually observe because it's so abhorrent, you would never test it, right? So, I mean, I do think there's a lot of boogeyman stories in the world. And,
Yeah, ghost story, like Joe calls them, ghost stories.
well, and they're for a reason. Like the Eskimos tell their children about monsters in the sea that come up and snatch children off the beach at a certain distance, right? So that their children don't go running to the ocean when nobody's around, and that's a boogeyman story, right? To keep the children safe from drowning. right? And
Yeah,
so
like
do we
it's
have
a little manipulative, but
mhm,
I mean,
mhm, less
it's like
manipulative than
Plato's noble
Santa?
lie.
Well, you do know that there are sharks, there's jellyfish, like there's things that can hurt you in the sea, right? They're not going to come up on the shore and get you, but you know, I think it takes a while for a child to get the logic at, once they see a shark, hear of a shark, out there in the water. I mean, it's not a far fetched that one of those sharks might come up on the beach to get them. They just don't understand how sharks swim, for instance. So it's Santa Claus
Do you
is,
think if they told the kid just stay here and don't go in the water because there's dangerous animals in there, that that would not be enough to have the kid?
it might
Like I
be,
could tell a scary story about an actual shark without even needing to make up a monster.
that's true. And maybe because I'm not an Esco, maybe it was just ocean beasts will come get you, right? Big ocean beasts will come get you, like real animals that can be pointed out. I know the Eskimos are known for not wanting to yell at their children, that it's something that's considered taboo in their tribal culture, right? You don't yell at children. And
Oh.
so uh that might be a setup so that they don't have to scream, be careful, no, don't go. Like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
so it could be a something to minimize that. I'm not saying that they don't ever yell at their children. I'm sure you're hard pressed to have children that you don't have to raise your voice to get the attention of, but I know it's something that culturally they try to minimize. So, but I think that when it comes, just to get back to trust a little here, I think that when it does come to trusting people, I think the simulation on YouTube can actually be a bit of of an extreme model of real life. Like I think when I look at my life, my willingness to trust people right off the hop has been manipulated greatly by
Hmm.
people who need
Especially if other
something.
people are not doing it back, then you're the one
Yeah,
putting yourself in a risky position. I guess risk
yeah,
management, like the amount of trust you give is a form of risk management.
yep.
Hello,
And I think
hello. What you got to
who's
say
there, Moon?
about trust?
Give me all your trust.
You can have some of it. Moose was I trusted Moose with the wrench. He
Moose.
was one of the first. He said, "Will you give me a wrench to build trust?" And I said, "I can do that." And he that is one of the things that built trust between us because he was very responsible with the wrench. And I'm like,
Well,
okay, I feel like I can trust this guy a little more now.
Moose probably has some unique stories out here about trusting people and betrayal of trust, like and how it can affect how people perceive you, right? As someone who, you know, uh,
Yeah,
had
do you have trust
he had
issues?
keys, yeah,
Tell us about
and had keys to a channel and flashed up a channel, and or I don't know, I wasn't there; it was before my time. But there's lore that precedes with Jack's channel, and that the people that observed that happen with Moose may have a different perception of Moose
it. Yeah.
because of it,
Can you
right?
trust? Don't trust him to run your panel.
He might kick you off, right? Like, which I guess now we'd all be like, "What's the big deal?"
But then
But back
Moose
then, I think
Moose
it
has
had.
trusted other people with his panel control. People that I would not trust that got screwed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Well,
like
now,
both ways.
and now that people do that, we can see where the producer comes in, right? Because actually, if he was one of the first to do it, and everyone was
I'll,
so
I'll
shocked, oh
be
my
right
god, I
back. I'm
can't
having
believe
some
what?
audio
Yeah,
issues. I can't hear you guys.
Okay.
okay. Oh well, that's not good. It's not convenient.
Oh. So we're
We're
talking about
talking about,
immediate here.
yeah. We can wait till he comes back and present it to him because
I
I
like
do
that. I
think
talk
that
about people to their face. I don't have to do it behind their back.
because I do think that when he
That is what
whenever
we are trying to answer here. Thought experiment. You should come up. Yeah, he tried to do mine too. He and Dutchy. They're. I'm not imputing motivation, but I know I've described the actual events and the effect that they had. I'm not saying they were doing it intentionally, but it did happen. Doesn't genuine. Yes, that's what I was saying. Like there has to be some in real life trust is tested somehow. And in the panelverse, it's hard to there's no test for the trust. I mean there's small tests, like I can give somebody a wrench and see what they do with it. But that like
That's not much of a.
not ultimate test, but that hard test of trust where it's put through, it's like sifted by reality. Can you hear us now?
I can hear you. Can you
Okay.
hear
Mic check,
We
me?
were
mic check.
talking about your trust issues. Like you've been in situations where people had reason not to trust you, and you've also given trust to people and got burned.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, and
Um.
and as the pioneer of I of at least I don't know, maybe someone else did it, but I know that the lore preceded you in terms of like starting a panel that Jack wasn't on, or kicking Jack off his own channel, or you know, like at the time people would have seen that as super shocking and major breach of trust, but now lots of people do it, right?
Yeah,
It's part
like
of giving
can
it.
anybody
Yes,
be trusted?
well, it's just part
Um.
of giving your keys to someone. Some
I,
people might play around with that and kick you off your own panel, right?
Yeah.
oh,
Like
hold on. We gotta correct the record though. I didn't
Okay,
betray
please do.
Paul. I didn't betray Paul's trust or anything like that.
No, I
No.
wasn't talking
What
about
happened
Paul.
was
I
no.
didn't. I didn't bring up Paul.
Someone in chat said that. He said,
Oh, I see.
I did that to both of them, and no, that's not what happened. One day it was streaming live, and something happened to where the button was pressed to stop streaming or whatever. It was a mess up, and that was it. That was the end of like that was the end of it. It was like one
I
mess
did
up.
that to.
It was
Yeah,
done.
I did that to Benton too by mistake. I didn't
So that
realize because we were simulcasting or whatever that to leave the studio I hit end something, or you know what I mean, and
yeah, I
suddenly
hit
the
the wrong
stream went down.
button. And
Yeah.
that was that. It was no betrayal. There was no like
Mm.
betrayal of trust. It was a known mess up that was eventually going to happen. Like something was going to happen. He already knew that when he brought me on to do that. It was a bit non bit. Um, yeah, and um, then with Jack, that whole thing was like it was a plot to get Jack working with Paul again, because that's all like Jack would talk about. He was like every single day it was like him and Paul would, do this roundabout thing. And it was like, okay, finally we gotta do something to shake it up. It's Paul's birthday. I said, okay. So I did something no one has done before, and I took control of the broadcast, and he started arguing with me and stuff, and it was an entertainment broadcast, and it got numbers beyond the roof, and it
Yeah.
was something that like is going to be forever in the history of the panel thing. And was I proud of how Jack felt about it? No. Like when I
Yeah.
realized that he like felt the way he did about it, like I was kind of like, okay. But what happened after that was those two started working together.
Cool. Yeah, I know. I only brought it up because I know I would see it now as entertainment value. Like first time I ever backstage, as an example, first time I ever backstage someone on my channel, I felt so bad. I cried about it the next day. I was talking about it and did a monologue and cried about it the next day. Oh my God, I'm so, and guess who it was? Singular Illumination. I'd backstage him any day now, every day. Bye, Sing, bye. But I was so upset because I felt like I'd silenced him and been rude to him, and then flash forward to like a month later where I'm on Benton's panel and Mitch has introduced himself to me and he's barking at me and I'm dealing with it. But by the time, I don't know if this is actually the same scene, but within half an hour, I'm raising my voice to Mitch and Benton's backstaging me. And then by the time he brings me back on, I'm laughing, right? It was the perfect interruption for me. I mean, people can backstage me anytime. It's not going to hurt my feelings, right? I've learned actually, it wouldn't matter if I'm talking too much, if it's for my own good, if it's for entertainment gain, it doesn't bother me. It's hilarious. And so then later, someone else got backstaged and they went down to Z's channel and they discussed their backstaging, like, oh my gosh, I was so offended. And you knew that they were just playing the optics, knowing that the audience thinks backstaging, some of the audience thinks backstaging is rude. right? And it's going to hurt someone's feelings. It really doesn't. So, it's a minor example of, you were and I was pointing that out, not to put you under the thumb, not realizing, or getting grilled for it, even though the chat might. I know that it was setting the stage for and precedence for something that people do now. People do it now, right? If you have co-host keys, you might kick the host off the stage. And it's become entertaining. So, are you guys there? Anyone?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's it is entertaining because like that's what I would get frustrated about the most is how the crowd never got it. Like I could talk to people in private and be like, "Hey, like, should I try this today?" "Oh yeah, no, yeah, let's try it, dude." And like the answer was always, no matter what it is, it doesn't matter because that's why he says, "Don't you get it? Don't you get it?" And he laughs at
Mm-hmm.
everybody because they don't get it. They don't get it. It's a show. He's on stage. People are on stage. They're doing their thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's all a freaking. Honestly, it's a waste of time. But
Mm-hmm.
it's all for entertainment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know that back when there was initially content being made of me, and so much of it, some people tried to actually be like, well, Paul's culpable too. And actually, because they told me of a couple skits he did. And when they told me what the skits were, I laughed my head off. I was like, no, he wasn't, you know, like putting people on a fuckability scale. Like,
Oh, what did I miss?
I know,
Yeah,
it's
that
like,
is a funny one. It is
I
fucking
know it's like,
hilarious.
you got everyone to poll who was more fuckable or something. And there's so many women were like, oh, can you believe what he did? Oh my God. I'm like, well, depending on what man is out there, I mean, I think it's like, it's about warmth and a heartbeat. Like it was to me, I just found it so funny, you know? And then weight. Lots of people have done content about my weight to the point that most people actually on YouTube think I'm about 700 pounds, I think, you know? And I think it's hilarious, right? I do. I think it's hilarious. And the next time I saw him months later, it was one of the first things he addressed, so, it's funny that some people out here think who like to rank how the content creators choose to do things and choose to sort of make crossover lore or put on a show. I've even learned to actually take some of that even more in stride, because if I can take those two skits and laugh at it, then who am I to sort of say what someone else is doing? You know what I mean? Like, even if they've taken it over the top, sewn my voice to someone else's picture, sewn my picture to someone else's voice, all of that's happened. So
I do like the idea of a little group, like a little weekly support group among content creators to like talk about issues we face in the panelverse and share what works and that kind of stuff. I think that could have great value.
I agree.
Hey, Chuck, do you have anything to say about trust? Everybody trusts Chuck.
Oh, I came up here for the harvest of the child stuff.
Oh,
No,
Hey Chuck, did you check your text messages earlier?
unfortunately, my granddaughter did. Thank you.
No way. Don't lie to
Yes,
me, Chuck.
I'm
Really?
not.
how
Really?
was your granddaughter checking your phone?
Come on. Come on,
She
Chuck.
grabbed
Really?
because her tablet died, and she grabbed my phone,
Oh my
and
god,
I didn't know
man.
it.
Now I can't text you ever again because of that one. That was
No,
supposed to make you laugh hard.
she she I slapped it out of her hand before she got a good glimpse, and then I looked at it later. But that was kind of funny.
Someone got me at work when I was checking out a customer.
Oh
The
shit!
the boss comes up and I'm in the middle of a transaction and he puts the phone in front of my face and he goes, "Dude, can you believe what's going on with the hurricanes?" And I was like, "What?" And he goes, "Dude, here, just click." And right in front of the customer, like You could see it
Yeah,
like off of the reflection off of my glasses. The customer was like, "Oh shit."
these guys are into some weird stuff.
Oh my god. Oh man. I'm going to have to send
Yeah,
it to Jeff.
unfortunately, Bex, those believers are not make believe. They actually believe some of this stuff,
Yes. Yes. I
like
mean,
the tunnel system, the steel kids, uh, the pizza parlor thing,
Hmm.
all that stuff. I mean, it's just I don't get it. Whatever happened to good old facts?
yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Were
Even the
people ever really that into
I,
facts? The
I'm
majority
waiting
of
for
people.
the. Uh, at one time, people did rely on newscasts for their information,
Chuck, you're roboting a little bit.
which was, that's because I'm mobile. I'll wait till I get to a better spot.
Oh, oh, you driving around?
Yeah, I'm going to go get the family some food.
Oh, okay.
it seems
Sounds
to have
good.
stopped.
They're once a week. They're once a week allotment, so I'm going to go get them some food.
Well, you see, if you can remember the thought you were at, you're not you're not roboting suddenly.
Oh, okay. I just saw
It's
these people that believe in this wackadoodle stuff.
shameless.
Drives
It's
me
the
insane.
Hello.
knowing when to be guarded enough, I think, is the issue for some of us. Hey, Zet, you have
How
trust
you
issues?
doing? Do I have trust
Hey,
issues?
Zach.
Yeah, or
I
trust
did
thoughts?
when I had a girlfriend that wanted to get married. I had trust issues, but now I just don't trust anybody, so I'm good.
That might be the way to
Damn.
go in the pit. It's just such a cynical way
That's
to
a
live.
lonely life, though. That's a
Yeah, like a lot of us are
lonely
here from isolation
life.
anyway, and that if we can't even develop trust,
Yep.
what does that ultimately do for the isolation?
Lonely is the word. I don't know, man. I trust my mother. I trust my my friend, but I don't trust everybody, like that are associated with him. Just because I trust my friend doesn't mean that I trust his relatives, or his
Oh, yeah. You wouldn't do that.
And it's what you're trusting people for. Like you might trust some people with some things, but not completely other things.
well, when it comes to financial stuff, I don't trust anybody.
I don't even trust myself, and
I
nobody else
learned a
should
long
either.
time ago not to, when it comes to lending money, I don't lend money to someone I wouldn't give it to. And ergo, I don't have
Yep.
to, it doesn't have to be a matter of trust, actually. It's a bonus when you pay me back. Um,
Yeah. The worst thing you can do is lend money to relatives and expect
Hmm.
it back.
Yeah, I
mhm.
don't lend either. If they need it and I
Like
have it,
Beck.
I'll just give it to them.
Yeah, like Beck said, make it a gift.
Yeah, and if they pay me back, great. But if they don't, then I'm not setting that expectation.
Well,
I had a
and
brother. Go ahead, Bex.
I was just going to say, yeah, that way too, if it sort of puts more limits on who you'd lend the money to, right? Because I wouldn't give money to anyone. In the past, I would have lent money to someone I might not have gifted it to, right? And got burned. So it put restrictions on how, on the yeah, on the kind of people I might lend money to.
Well, I lent money
Yeah.
to a friend of mine, and I didn't really know him that well. I mean, we had only been acquaintances for like I don't know, maybe a couple months with other friends, around all the time. And I lent him like $300, and he paid me back. And he kind of like took a while to do it, if, what I mean. Like it wasn't right away, but he did pay me back, and and I trusted him to do that. So you can trust some people, I mean, it depends.
How do
Yeah,
you?
and some
Oh, go
Go
ahead.
ahead, please, Jeff.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, yeah, sometimes people pay you back and you'd already forgotten about it. I had someone contact me not long ago who got married and had a child. And I guess this had been plaguing him because I'd totally forgotten it. I checked an old email that I hadn't checked in years. And it was just serendipitous that I'd received an email from someone who's like, hey, how can I get this $40 I owe you? And I was like, you owe me $40? Right?
Well,
Yep.
I never forget. If I lend you money, I don't forget, because to me that's a big deal. You know, it's a like Jeff was saying, it's a trust issue. You know, like you entered into this contract with me and hold your end up of it. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, when somebody breaks my trust, it almost never comes back. Like I don't know how to restore broken trust.
Yeah, I had a brother-in-law that they at from time to time they would need some financial assistance for bills and shit. And one time I gave him $1,000 and I didn't loan it to him. I just gave it to him. But every time we went over there, I would always buy pizza or something for the kids and everything, because it was a treat for them. Well, he got to the point where he thought that I was flexing my financial muscles trying to
My
play
God.
Billy. Yeah, and I was just trying to be kind, and he actually wanted to fight over it. Like, good
Well,
So
you
lord.
he didn't
were
trust your motivation.
no, you were insulting his manhood, is what was happening. You know, he
Yeah,
felt like he was inadequate, and you were pointing it out in a way.
no, no. Well, it was never spoken. I mean, they asked, I gave. I didn't ask questions. I didn't make
Chuck,
issues out of it. Yo,
you're such a show off. You try to help
thank you.
people. Every time you give Jack a super chat, you're just showing off. You're showing your money bags. You're
No,
not actually
that's
trying to help people.
that's
You're just
dirty money. He says
dirty
I have
money.
dirty money, whatever that is.
But he can't
Dirty
do anything
money.
about it. Like he can't reject a super chat. He has to.
Yeah,
He's
you
forced to
can.
take it. You
Well,
can.
He could.
Didn't you work for the
He,
mafia at one point? I mean, maybe your money was dirty.
it could have
He
been at
probably
one
has. I
point.
would be surprised.
Could be. I mean, I
I
wash
work
my money before I send it. You would
I
think
work
that'd
Yeah.
be
for a
good
man.
enough.
I know a good money launderer. He'll clean your money up.
I worked for a man who paid cash a lot of the time. He owned a big Tatarian building. Sorry, I was just going with the YouTube stuff. Anyways, but he was someone who liked to put people in his back pocket. So he
Mm,
employed a lot of marginalized people, and we didn't mind that. So you knew you could depend on him for a loan, and you had to be ready to work for him when he came back to have the work, and the work was available. He expected that of you, which as a small, just a person living on the margins wasn't a problem for me. But he'd do it. He'd find out, say, that the plumber was having some problems, and he'd say, oh, here, I have this work that's due in a year. We have to change all the pipes in the building, to bring them up to code. So I'm going to give you like thousands of dollars, right? Like, and
yeah,
so he actually, so he would put people in his back pocket, and it would put some of these trades guys, professional trades guys, in a real bind.
yeah,
Sometimes,
because they
yeah,
they they already took the money, so they're stuck.
exactly. And they're busy, right? They're very busy professionals. So, I just remember at times I'd meet them very early in the morning to get some work done, because not only is everyone sleeping and shutting off the water isn't a problem, but actually more often it was because they had to get it done and squeeze it in. They owed the guy money, but they also still had, like, that money was already spent, and they still had a family to pay for, and
Yep,
whatever other problems, right? So it was a manipulative on my boss's part for sure. Like, he would find out, it wouldn't even be the plumber telling him he had the problem, right? It would be
yeah,
him having his ear to the ground so that he knew who he could offer money to have on demand when he needed it.
yeah. I knew some people like that.
Yeah. And it made him feel like a don, of the neighborhood. And he kind of was, in many ways. We were a major part of the gentrification of a very poor neighborhood, and he knew exactly how to exploit that to his own gain.
I think that's what everybody fears. That's how
You
Hmm.
know,
y'all are.
you guys were talking about YouTube a while ago, and I seen somebody did another hit piece, I guess yesterday. And but they said it wasn't a hit piece; that it was for to try to give this person information. But I watched it, and it looked like a hit piece to me, and I was disgusted by it. I mean,
Who was it against?
uh, uh, Lindsay,
Oh, well, she's kind of called a few pieces onto herself with some of her
I know,
actions.
but to get on YouTube and just make a hit piece on somebody, I don't
Well, I'm
understand that.
learning that that's what they do here. It's just-
Yeah, I mean, how many
Someone told
videos
Mike
are
the
there of
other
you,
day
Jeff?
that if you can't handle threats to your life, you shouldn't even be on YouTube. I thought that was disgusting. That's not the standard I want for
Oh
YouTube.
my
But apparently,
God.
for some people, it is. That's their norm. That is the YouTube norm.
Well, yeah, I've heard certain people, I won't mention names, go that route on the threats.
I don't know. It's just silly to me. Who the fuck is threatening who on YouTube, and why? Like, it makes no sense.
I mean, I offered a guy $5,000 one time to come see me if he wanted a piece of me that bad.
I'll come see you
Hey,
for
Chuck,
5,000.
yeah, for 5 grand, I'll kick your
Well,
ass.
I'll go party at Chuck's.
Yep,
Bill's on him.
and he didn't do it. He turned it down.
I'll take it. I'll take my chances. You may be tall and everything, but we'll see. For 5 grand.
Ricardo, what do the light blue hearts mean?
I don't know. I've seen those. There's
Let's
purple,
see.
light blue.
Okay, I looked it up. The blue heart that Ricardo just posted means like excitement, and I'm happy to see you kind of thing.
Oh, that's a nice one. I like
Gesture.
that.
Yeah.
I
Because
thought it was
I
like you make my heart blue. You make me
That's
sad.
pretty cool.
no, people are
But it's
giving me
actually
all
you
these
make me
fucking
happy.
emojis, and I have no idea what they mean by it.
Maybe it
And
means he's a Democrat.
I'm
so I
not
looked
He
it up.
loves
I'm not
Kamala.
living my life
Oh
by this shit.
no! Don't say that, Jeff.
Like, what the hell is that?
I can't do it. Can't do it, folks.
What is
I'm
that?
Can't
What
do
is that
I'm
what?
not going to
emoji?
What's up,
learn a new
Moose?
language. All right.
Do what?
I'm not going to learn the emoticon language. I'm not doing
What?
it.
This
No,
is this is the
don't. Yeah,
future.
it
This is,
took me. Yeah, I'm not kidding. Like decade, at least a decade, to even start picking up on it.
Well, do you remember before there was emojis, they would use characters
Yeah,
to
that's how emojis started. Was the
yeah,
characters, and then they started creating actual emojis
it-
from that.
the heart, the smiley face, done with like letters and
Yeah.
symbols back in the old days.
Even LOL, it took me forever to
Oh
adopt
yeah,
LOL. I thought
I
that
had
was
to
so dumb and awkward.
I had to look those up. RLFON or whatever it is, rolling on the floor, laughing my ass off.
Uh huh.
I had to look all them up. I'm like, what the hell? Yeah, I saw somebody begging the other day about being homeless and they didn't have no food, but could somebody send money so I could buy some weed?
Oh, was it Zat?
Nope.
no,
Oh,
I'm not that
Bit
bad.
it was Benton.
oh.
That was sad.
Although, much to my surprise, I got I did a well, you were there, Jeff, for a little while. I did a 6.5 hour fucking stream,
Yeah,
which
you
is
went long yesterday.
yeah, that was crazy for me. And
Yeah.
and I got 2 donos that I wasn't even asking for. I was shocked.
Oh, well, that's the way to do it.
I don't understand it, but okay, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish my brother would have died a little later in life because I was trying to collect funds to pay for the funeral and all that crap. And I ended up getting the whole $20, but that was
Oh man.
before YouTube, all this paneling shit.
Well, do you remember there was a time where Benton would go on stream and he'd live stream for a couple hours and then he'd start chastising his audience?
Yes, he still does. He still does, Moose.
Yeah, I stopped watching them. You're not gonna
He's
yell at me to give you money when I'm
well,
giving
he
you
was
Yeah.
demanding
uh
money the other day to buy weed.
Who's
oh, this
this?
is this is recent.
Is this
Yeah,
Rebel?
no, Benton.
Wow.
Who?
Benton JA. He's a truck driver, streamer. He was part of the little panel verse a
He's a
little bit.
spurg. He's like mega spurg.
Yeah,
Look, truck
he's a
drivers
spur.
can't smoke weed because they get tested all the time.
I mean, we're cool. We're cool.
No,
Me and him are cool. I
he
met I
he
met him in
quit.
person,
He,
but
he quit
I
his
don't like
truck
the whole
driving
like.
job, and he's living out of his car, mooching off the system in California.
Oh. By the
Oh,
way,
currently.
there was a question about what the white heart means. It means love and positive feelings, and it's supposed to be associated with things that are white, like happy white things, like a white
Oh,
puppy or
racist.
A white
something. No,
person.
no,
Yeah,
not like a white
yeah,
person.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
missing the point.
I'm just pulling your
We
leg.
know what it
I know
means
you are.
in this day and age. Come on.
I tried to be a phony on YouTube before. I just can't do it.
What was your what was your persona?
I
Happy
was trying to
Chuck.
do
Chuck was
like
a gay.
no.
He was a gay
I was
Alabama
trying to
brother.
be I was trying to be like Moose, a jokester, and it
Cuz
failed
you
every
do have a
time.
little you kind of an instigator. You're
Yeah,
like
he's an
No,
you throw the
instigator,
golden
but
apple. That's what Chuck does.
that's because I listen.
He'll
I
throw a
pay
casual
attention.
throwaway comment that will spark a whole bunch of drama.
Well, that's because it gets through my bullshit filters, and I'm able to see and call them on their shit, and then they take it as a stab instead of taking it as a reality.
Yeah, I've
Sometimes
noticed that,
it's hard
and
to tell.
I've noticed that the most with when I see you talk to Jack. I mean, I'm only
Oh
a
yeah,
year. Yeah, I'm only a year into this with these panel channels, right? So I don't know the history that precedes that allows the audience or Jack to take what you're saying into so much offense that's being taken, right?
yep.
Because whenever I've seen, and you don't go up there very often, and when you do, it's obviously he's keeping you at arm's length and ready to
Yeah,
not
because
listen
Chuck won't
almost.
stop attacking him. He has this.
It's
Well,
it's not an attack.
Chuck, we talked about this
I've
before.
I've
You have some kind of deep-seated
I don't like
hostility or disapproval or
I don't
resentment
like
related to how he does
bullshitters.
his recovery or something he said about alcoholics.
Oh, the list is long when it comes to
well, yeah,
Jack.
Oh, well, I thought that
well,
was
yeah,
the
and
root of it because we had talked about it on the stream a few
I know,
times.
and
yeah.
And y'all
I
both kind of agreed that yeah, that's where it started.
kinda
Well, and it
yeah.
could also be what I could say that, especially, and I know that I've been seen criticizing Jack pretty heavily over in another channel, but just for the audience, for the audience's awareness, Jack and I have actually had a few private conversations in the last couple of weeks and sorted that out.
Ah,
So and I appreciate Jack for that. So I'm definitely not on some Jack slamming trip here or anything. I'm just making observations, from a kind place. And this is what I
right.
would say. Maybe because so many people come at Jack, maybe some of it is transferred into reactions to you because he knows that you'll take it and he can dish it out there, like maybe it's safer to express some of his frustration at you, knowing that there is this history between you guys. So it could just be a form of like, I guess, emotional dissipation at
I'm
this
pretty
stage of the
sure
game.
Jack senses that he's on the receiving end of some animosity.
But I don't know. I mean, and maybe it's
Well,
just me not knowing the
Chuck's kind of
history.
admitted it.
But I've said,
It,
but I wouldn't. But Chuck does not always approach Jack with animosity. And in fact,
exactly.
if I could go back
But
and
he
find the
does it
things that
often enough that it's a pretty consistent pattern. Like I wish we could just be real
Uh,
about this because we were in the past. I feel like we've backtracked from the progress we've made in the past. Y'all are dancing around and pretending now, but we all got it out in the open 2 or 3 times on this stream, so there's no reason to talk around it anymore.
Well,
Well, I
I'm
mean,
Chuck
not
yeah, just like
admitted
fair
it's
slamming,
enough.
because of what Jack said about helping
but
alcoholics. He can't get over that.
I'm not slamming him when I go up there to talk to him.
You antagonize. It
I
seems
I
wonder
like
if
hit him
I
there
wonder
you
if
have
you
something, you have some emotion toward Jack based on that drives you to instigate, to like throw snipe at him,
It's not snipe.
to get in your lick when you can.
No, I'm not trying to one up him.
Not to one up him, but to like keep this issue going, like to keep this expressed, let's say.
But when
Both
I
of you
go up on
guys
his
do it. Both of you guys, and you just tell him the truth. He doesn't like the truth of what you're
exactly,
saying. He doesn't like your
But
perspective at
some of the
all.
truth is a personal truth on Chuck's. It's like a subjective
That's what I
truth
that's
on
I
Chuck's
corrected
end that.
myself. I said perspective. It's Chuck's perspective and Jack does not want it or care for it and he hates it and he just
Well,
fires
I
up.
agree with Jack there because I think it's an unfair perspective. It's something related to how Jack does his recovery that Chuck has a
no,
particularly strong opinion about, but that's Jack's not obligated to
it's
have the
the
same opinion.
hypocrisy. It's the hypocrisy.
The perceived hypocrisy.
Are you talking about Talcott?
Yeah.
Yep, Lord Talcott.
See,
No, I don't know what to think about him. I mean, he's a
I don't
weird
know.
guy.
Y'all can go back and look for the stream. Search for a stream with Chuck's name and Jack or something. But they've had conversation about this on this panel. So maybe because I have that knowledge, I'm seeing this conversation differently. I'll just
Yeah,
like back out of
I
it for a
think
second.
so.
I just know there's more going on here that people are talking about now that they have talked about in the past.
hmm
So
I've
that
even
makes
Well,
me
and
tried to
that
maybe
talk
like
to.
talking
maybe
about motivation. That makes me like wonder what's the motivation here and what's the like how much can I trust what's going on.
I have a serious question. Does Talcott do weed?
I'm pretty sure
yes,
so.
he
Yes.
does. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
He's an old hippie.
that explains some of it.
I think that explains.
Yep.
Uh,
That's part of it.
yeah, I think that explains a lot of the Panoverse.
He
Maybe not
claims to
just
be
weed,
clean
but
and
substances.
sober, and getting high off of weed is not being clean and sober.
No.
Well,
I'm
but
sorry.
everybody is like he's accountable for his own recovery. Like you're not the recovery police,
Well,
Well, and
it's
here,
and
it,
that's what
maybe,
it seems like the role you try to step into sometimes. And if
Well,
I were
no,
Jack,
he's
I would
it's
react
obviously
the
against that as well because it's like a boundary or a violation of autonomy thing.
anyone that says they do weed instead of alcohol is just substituting something.
yes,
Yeah, but it's
exactly.
not my role to constantly call them out and harass them for that either.
well,
Oh,
yeah, and
I'm not harassing anyone. I'm just stating my observation. I mean,
well, and anyone who's out here on YouTube, 5, 6, 10, 12, 18 hours a day is also substituting something.
yeah. Well, I could be playing my bass right now and getting better, but I'm on here talking to you guys.
hmm
I'm
But
substituting.
See, I feel like we're keeping you from being better. Now I feel
No,
bad
you're not. I'm doing this
because you're a
because I
grown
want to.
person and you're making the choice.
Right. It's my deal. I'm a Satanist in my own way. You know.
Oh,
well,
I'm
and I
so
say
glad
that
that
from
that's associated with Satanism now.
While doing your own thing. You know. Do what you want to do.
yeah.
Do
Well,
what
and I
thou
say that
wilt
from
shall be the whole
experience
of the law.
because when I replaced my chronic weed smoking, lifelong weed smoking with YouTube. I mean, the two went hand in hand for a while, but then suddenly I was not smoking weed and just on YouTube. And I'm talking like 7 months of no smoking weed after chronically smoking it all day, every day, most of my life. So at first I thought, oh, well, I just needed my full faculties to deal with this stuff. But then I think, no, I think it just became a substitute addiction. And I'm grateful for that. Right. So I would say, though, just to bring it back to say Jack and Chuck here, if Jack were here, and I know obviously you've hosted these conversations before, but I think it would actually tie into that trust stuff that we're talking about, right?
Right.
Like that there would be a broken trust and a willingness to be apprehensive to rebuild. And their relationship may be actually a good model of that over time. Or of somebody who politely already doesn't want to trust and isn't going to. I'm not trying to put it, I'm I'm analyzing the situation, not saying that I know something about Jack, but I just think that there's obviously, I've done that. I've had people, or even we could put it the other way around on a more extreme level, likely that's how the sanity machine felt about me, right? He doesn't trust me. He knows something going to happen, blah, blah, blah. But the irony of these situations is that some people think, giving each other second chances, third chances, fourth chances only go one way. So, oftentimes when a blowout occurs, someone will say, I've given you enough chances, but not realizing that went both ways, and to make it more homey, to bring the point home, I had a sister that wasn't talking to, pardon me? Oh, he's talking to someone else.
Oh,
I had
here,
a
I'm gonna
sister
push
once
him in real quick.
that wasn't talking to me for about a year, and I didn't notice because we don't communicate that often. So when she finally said to me, like, I wasn't talking to you for a year or a year and a half, and I said, well, I'm sorry, I didn't notice, when we finally were driving along together one day and I was, getting a little bit, let's just say giving her a little pushback on something or, expressing my opinion emotionally, she says, be careful, right? Be careful. I'm giving you a second chance here. And I said, oh, no, sister, I'm giving you a second chance, right? You're the one, like, no, so you don't have the thumb over me, right? You're the kind of person who'll just stop talking to someone, even though I didn't notice,
I always regret the fact that I don't have a brother or sister similar to my own age, so that I'd have somebody that I could kind of depend on, or whatever. But I hear all the time about how they just fight. They fight, the brothers and sisters, like, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm not missing anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I know I come from a big family and people expect that means close. And there's nothing.
I would think it would mean close, but it doesn't.
Yeah,
right?
no, not at all. And in fact, depending on the environment, my father definitely raised us in a way that gave us a lot of great characteristics, a lot of strengths, but he also raised us to be exceptionally competitive with one another because of the way he raised us to have those strengths. So we're not close. We're not.
Well, you're independent. Yeah. You're all independent.
Exactly.
You all do your own thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why is the freak quoting that particular quote?
I like it. I think it's very, very topical.
Well, I know, but did I say something?
No, I think I think it just applies to the conversation in general, like the topic in general.
Damn, am I still here?
Yeah.
Yep, you are.
Yeah, there was some background noise or something. I muted you.
Yeah, my phone went wonky for a minute there. It said it was overheating. And I'm like, what the heck? StreamYard does that. It uses a lot of.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, that's what people say is StreamYard will overheat your phone.
I got it underneath the air conditioner now. Cool.
The good news for you is winter's coming, so you won't have to worry about it anymore.
Screw winter. I moved south to get away from the cold, but I didn't move far enough south.
Yeah. Why? How far south are you?
I'm Middle Tennessee.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's more south than St. Louis.
Oh yeah,
Illinois.
About 350 miles south.
Let me look at a map.
So Chuck, what does the temperature get to at the lowest temps around there? Like on average, would you say it's like 30?
In the it will get down to 10 -5 at times and stay that way for like a week.
-5.
Yeah,
that's cold.
I know. It got one year got down to. I just moved down here and it got cold enough that and then we had an ice storm and it broke my windshield on my car.
God damn.
Yeah.
I would think Tennessee wouldn't have harsh winters. I mean, does it snow a lot? Do you get it snow down there?
We've been getting some pretty good sized snows coming down to visit relatives, and they would always ask what snow looked like because it never snowed down here. And damn, it snows now,
Well, that's
Oh, like
climate
which is,
every
change.
winter?
Climate change.
I think it's the, no, I think it's the shift of the earth, is what I think.
Well, we are moving a
The
little bit.
poles,
The moon
yeah.
is moving
Not
away
according to
from us.
not according to flat earthers, though.
No, but they say the moon is fucking taking a hike. It's deciding to leave us.
Yeah, I've
It,
seen that.
What's
it's
happening?
the moon is moving away from us by like millimeters every year.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the moon has had enough. It's like fuck this. All these
I'm
people and
waiting.
their
I'm out of here.
stupidity. Yeah, it's like I
I'm
can't keep watching this.
Take care. Tell
I'm
Elon to
waiting
send a
for
rocket if he needs me.
I'm waiting for everybody to go crazy over the DNA test they did on Christopher Columbus
Oh
the other
yeah, that
day.
he's Jewish.
Spanish
I
What?
Jewish.
still
How
don't
the
know
hell
how
would
they
it,
know for certain that's his DNA.
how would a DNA prove you're
They
Jewish?
they compared it to his son, grandson, something.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. Okay.
and they were able to trace it.
So if
But
they knew his grandson, and everything, they didn't know they were Jewish. Like they didn't know they were Jewish.
I don't know. He was what they call the traveling Jews.
Well, we might even be Jewish then. Any
Well,
of us.
best I can tell,
What
we
does it
all came
matter?
from the we all came from the same place in my book.
I'm interested in finding out about the cult of Cthulhu. I want to know what
Oh,
those
Who?
I.
people are
What you need
into.
to know? I used to play the game.
What
It's
The
the
is
video
that?
game?
Cthulhu role playing
There
group.
was a video game.
Yeah,
What
it's a
is
role
it?
playing game, and there's a video game now. Mansions of
The
Madness.
the video game apparently it didn't have a health meter, it had a sanity meter.
Yeah,
And
yeah, because you
and
go
you would
you
Damn.
go
yeah, you go
insane before you
fucking
die,
crazy. Yeah.
and it's not if, it's when. At some point in the game, you will
Yeah.
go insane if you play long enough.
I love H.P. Lovecraft. There was a Stephen King story in one of the movies. What was it? Creep Show. The something about Jordy Verrill, where this meteor lands and then like it starts growing plants everywhere, and then the guy himself, when he found the meteor, it starts turning him into a plant, and that is a direct ripoff of an H.P. Lovecraft story.
Well, Mansions of Madness too.
I go.
That's a good one if you like
Stephen King ripped off
Lovecraft.
H.P. Lovecraft, though, if you ask me. And I read some of his books, and they were not the greatest of writings. I mean, like you read something like Tolkien, and then you go to Stephen King, and
Oh yeah, I don't.
you can just see the caliber of writing
Yeah,
versus the lack of it.
that
You
was
know,
my experience with Stephen King too.
Yeah.
That's I was not able to read much of him. And then you
no,
go
I
from
got
Stephen King to Harry Potter,
I
and it's
didn't.
even worse.
no, I
I
refuse to read
didn't
Harry Potter.
hear
I can't read
Stephen
it. I've
King.
tried.
Why?
I
I
don't know
can't get
why.
past the writing. It's so bad. Like when you
What's
watch a
wrong with
movie
it?
with bad acting and bad writing.
Well, and because it's a series and design, targeted maybe it's an audience of everyone, but really towards children, I couldn't handle the repetition. I couldn't handle the backstory in every book, and they always had to repeat and give you like who's part of what group and how they got there, and
Yeah.
it's just like too much repetition from book to book. So,
Well, then you wouldn't like Tolkien because there's a lot of backstory in Tolkien.
but it's not backstory; it's repetition.
It's not
It's not the
repetition
backstory.
in Tolkien.
Yeah, but that's why I'm saying that I'm talking about Harry Potter
Oh yeah.
and
Well,
the repetition.
I
So
don't
I
know
don't mind
about that 'cause I
backstory.
can't read the books. I can't read them, so I don't
Yeah.
know.
No, I love lots of backstory. It can get convoluted. It can become too much sometimes in fantasy novels for me. So you might have picked up on something. There is a lot. It's like sci-fi is like on the ground. Sorry, I've always seen fantasy as on the ground sci-fi. And usually the fantasy tends to give you like languages and names and history and way more than any sci-fi movie ever would. So
Yeah,
you could be
yeah.
picking up on something about me. I have a book, a series of books, 11 of 12 of them, and I never got into reading them because they're a collaboration. I read the first couple, but I knew I'd hit a point where I'm missing a book. They're called the Wild Card series, and it's Dean. Dean, is that his name? R.R. Martin, George R.R. Martin.
Oh
Him and
yeah,
a yeah,
he's the
him
one
and
that
a syndicate
funded
of
Meowsers.
sci-fi writers wrote this series together, and they each wrote a couple characters. And basically, the main premise is two main species of people, a war in the world, and there's and they play with they in the universe, and they play with Earth, right? So one of them unleashed a virus on Earth that caused everyone to get X-Men like powers. And I love the series, but as it developed more and more, you could see that the different characters that were being written by different authors, some authors developed their characters better, and it became too
Yeah.
much difference in
Oh,
writing. But it's a fantastic series. It very, the closest thing to fantasy that to how fantasy is quite complicated when you get people really put a lot of backstory in.
Well, have you ever heard of Michael Moorcock, the author? He did
yeah, Elric,
Elric of Melnibone and the rest of it, the Eternal
Fafford,
Champion.
and the Grey Mouse.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that shit was crazy. It was like reading the book was like tripping on acid sometimes. You know, he would go to the chaos realm where everything just changes every 5 minutes, and like it was just nuts. But in a way, that's kind of how things are. Like when you do psychedelics and whatnot, things can just change and shift. The chaos realm, I would call it. The spirit world, the chaos realm, it's all the
The
same thing.
Panelverse.
The panelverse, no, the panelverse is chaotic, but not like that.
Oh. It can be mind warping sometimes.
Yeah, that's a great warped by chaos. Yeah. Blue Oyster Cult did a song about, two songs actually about Michael Moorcock's writings. One is about Elric. It's called Black Blade, and the lyrics were written by Michael Moorcock. And the other one is Veteran of the Psychic Wars, and he wrote the lyrics to that too. And to me, Veteran of the Psychic Wars is the ultimate PTSD song. The lyrics.
I'm gonna look it up. Leggy and I have this idea where we're gonna take two albums and like review them side by side and compare the different tracks and critique them. So that might be a good one to. What's it called? Veterans.
Oh no, the song.
Yeah,
Well,
of
the
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 Psychic
song
Wars.
the song is "Veteran of the Psychic Wars,"
All right, I'm gonna
and
listen
it,
to it
it's
after this.
basically, see, Elric was just another incarnation of what's known as the Champion Eternal, and it's this being that is doomed to live in every reality to keep the cosmic balance. So sometimes he fights on the side of law against chaos. Sometimes he fights on the side of chaos against law. Whichever one is the stronger, he keeps the cosmic balance, and he's doomed to live lifetime after lifetime as all these different people. And that's what Veteran of the Psychic Wars is about. It's about the mental trauma of being that person, that soul.
And Moorcock wrote those lyrics too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh wow, I'm definitely gonna listen to it after this. Have it pulled up. In fact,
The
right now.
song was actually in, the movie Heavy Metal, the animated movie that
Oh
came
yeah,
out.
yeah. Uh-huh.
The song was in that movie.
Yep. In fact, I'm gonna drop that link. They have a clip of it from the movie. Here you go, Blue Oyster Cult.
You're
Michael
gonna get
Moorcock.
copyright struck, aren't you?
Oh no, I'm just gonna drop it in the chat.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. Listening to that song as a depressed teenager, it just hit home. I really like the lyrics and the mournful guitars. I met the guitar player and singer of Blue Oyster Cult, Buck Dharma. He came into the convenience store I was working at, the gas station, and
You recognized him?
no, I didn't. But
Oh,
there was this other kid who would just hang out with me all fucking day, and I hated it. But he would hang out with me, and he was a bass player too, and he recognized him. And then when we recognized him, and he saw us looking at him, he came back in, and he left his wife sitting in his Delta 88 or whatever the hell, the Buick, and and he came back in and he talked to us for like 45 minutes, and it was pretty cool because he was just killing
wow.
time. He was killing time before the show. He asked for directions to the show, and I had to
What year?
work. I
What year
couldn't
was
go.
this?
Oh, I don't know. It was like 1995 or something,
Oh,
or
okay.
seven. I don't know. I had he I had long hair back then. It was down to my back, and the kid who hung out with me had long hair. So I mean, he knew that we were his type of people. Like he knew that we were his crowd. No, he was a cool guy though, man. And I wish I wish I was my age now when I had met him because I would have acted differently. I think. I would have asked him certain questions, that I didn't ask him when I had the opportunity.
Mhm.
But what are you going to do?
What would you ask him?
Well, I would have asked about like there's a song, "The Last Days of May," and I would have asked him about like where they got the idea for that, and because that song is something that it's like it tells a little story, and no, it's called "Then Came the Last Days of May." And it tells like this little story. It's almost like a little movie that you can watch in your head when you listen to the lyrics and the music, and I would have asked them where they got the idea for that because that song is different, and it's original and powerful.
You could ask him why they use an umlaut over the O.
Yeah.
Why
Well,
do you put the dots? That's what I would ask him.
the record company wanted Blue Oyster Cult to be the answer to Black Sabbath, so that's
Oh,
why they're
did it
so
need an
like.
answer?
Well, they wanted to make money too,
Oh,
and Sabbath was fucking killing them.
try to get it on the hustle.
Yeah, yeah. And they even did a tour together in the 80s. It was called the Black and Blue Tour, and it was
Because
Black Sabbath and Blue Oyster Cult.
I was thinking about this the other day. Like the bands we followed were our version of YouTube channels back then. Like that's where we got our
Oh
culture,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that's where the
MTV.
audience we kind of interacted with similar people through the audience, and then like movies too, probably.
I remember
Before the
watching the first
panelverse, there was
videos.
rock. There was like music and fandom and groupies
Yeah, I
and
remember
a
looking at the
network.
first videos on MTV, like the Buggles and
Hmm.
Romeo Void.
1981.
Yeah, remember Romeo Void?
I do.
The
What was
big.
their famous song?
I don't remember the name of it, but the lyrics were
They were part
something
of that
about.
new romantic movement where everybody was. They had the gay hairdos and the sunglasses, like Duran Duran,
Yeah, and the like
Adamant.
the
What's the one? The New Romantics, New Wave Post Punk.
yeah, I remember them vividly. I was at a
Never
comedy
Say
show
Never.
and the comedian made a joke about how she looked like Roseanne Barr, the lead singer, and out of the entire fucking room, I was the only one who laughed, and I laughed real loud when I heard it because
Oh my
it
gosh, she
hit.
does.
But the thing is, like, no one else got the joke, so I look like a fuck. The comedian, he goes, "Well, at least one guy got it."
Here she go. Yeah, she looks like Roseanne and Elvira. I
Yeah,
love that jukebox.
she's almost as big as the jukebox.
Spandau Ballet. Yeah, maybe it's
Yeah, yeah.
Gen X.
I remember when YouTube. I mean, when MTV first showed up, man, it was a big deal, and they only
Yeah,
played a
it's
few
our
videos.
that MTV was our panelverse. Our generation got our shit from MTV. That was our YouTube channels. That was where
Yeah,
all our youth culture came in,
yeah.
and it was chaotic. It was like it was made for people on acid. You could tell. Like even their
Oh,
little like to go to commercials and stuff were.
I have a story about that. Remember the show Liquid Television?
Yes, I used to watch it. I had the VHS tapes. I
Okay,
used to record it.
my friend at the time had a VCR where you could go back like 5 or 10 seconds on the TV signal, and so he had this VCR and he hit pause and he went back on one of the animation sequences, and clear as day, and it was only for like a frame or two. They had the word acid just
Yeah,
subliminally.
that kind of shit. Like that.
Yeah,
Talking about subliminally programming people. MTV. If
yeah.
anybody was doing it, it was them.
We caught it, and I was like, "What the fuck, dude?" It's like
And we
because
were on drugs. And like so that
well,
like the programming
pot.
would sink in even more.
Yeah, but it was just nuts to see that. I was like, "So it is real, the subliminal thing." I was like, I thought it was all bullshit, or at least it didn't work, but
Well,
there it was.
they could put it in there, but whether it actually has an effect on people is still
Yeah, I know,
up
but
for
like
debate.
we didn't. You would have never known. It was
Just
just
like
a
the
flash.
backmasking on the records.
Yeah. What is it? Satan something?
Oh, from Led Zeppelin.
My sweet Satan.
And they had one. Doesn't the Beatles have like Paul is dead or something?
Yeah, Paul is dead. And there's a big theory that the Paul McCartney you see today is an imposter. The real one died in a car crash and all this
And Elvis
bullshit.
is still around, and Michael Jackson.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And Diddy is gonna
He's
fucking
probably
get
a
off.
white lady, one of the
Some people,
Karens.
some people have been convinced Donald Trump is Elvis Presley.
It doesn't surprise me. A year ago, it might have, but not anymore.
I don't know. My close relative is voting for Kamala, and I have to ask why. But
What you gonna do?
it doesn't matter either way. Nothing's going to change. I mean, it's like we've had 200 years to figure out how to handle a hurricane, and no one seems to know how to do it anymore, or
We
ever.
do. Our people do. We have the Cajun Navy.
The Cajun Navy.
Yes.
Okay.
We know exactly
Well,
what to do in a hurricane. We
then
don't
why?
wait for the government. When a hurricane comes, we mobilize and we know exactly what to do. We don't need the government to come before we can start recovering.
Yeah, I don't know. Everything is just fucked up lately, in my opinion. People are ill-informed, and they make decisions based on what little information they have or that they choose to have, and then it
People see
causes
what
the
they want to
world to go
see and they
screwy.
believe what they want to believe. If
Exactly.
unless they have some kind of rational process you can access, that very rarely there's very rarely anything you can do to change that.
Exactly. You can talk and talk and talk, but if someone's not listening and not connecting with what you're saying, then they're not going to fucking be influenced by anything you say or do.
Yeah, I've noticed that like even as a kid, like the people around me believed all kind of weird things. I just let people have their beliefs.
Yeah.
I don't understand these Karens that go around trying to change everybody.
I mean, I looked for weird shit. I tried to get into magic and all that, the Aleister Crowley, and
Were you
I
ever a
wanted
Satanist?
no, but
Okay.
I wanted to
Yeah.
summon something, an intelligence or something. I
Me
wanted to
too.
speak to something.
I want to summon it on this panel.
I wouldn't be afraid. Be I would be afraid, but I would be there facing it and talking to it just the same. I wouldn't run away. Like it would be blasting my fucking soul by the weirdness of it, but yet at the same time I would have to know and I would be talking to it.
That's so Gen X. Like compare it to the snowflake Gen. We were actually seeking out demons to confront face to face, and they're
That's
scared
right.
of like a word. or a
Yeah, they're
meme.
scared that their latte doesn't have the right cream in it or some shit. I'm sorry, but I'm not afraid of that shit. I seek out the weird, you know. When I was a little kid, I remember standing out in the backyard in the middle of winter, holding a crucifix up to the sky and daring the aliens to come get me.
What age of kid?
Oh, I was probably like 11 or something,
Oh my
or
god!
10.
Wow. I think I was still playing Spider-Man.
I was interested
Super
in
Friends.
UFOs since I was 4 years old, man. Yuri Geller
The
got my
spoon
interest.
bender.
Yeah, he got my interest when I was 4 because I didn't know any better. But that got me interested in UFOs, and then eventually I saw a fucking UFO in broad daylight, so it's close up. So it's like, nothing's gonna surprise me now. I was ready for it because of Yuri Geller's bullshit. You know, he did a musical album.
I didn't even know he did any kind of
Uh,
album.
yeah, in the '70s, he did an album, and it's called "Come On and Love." And he's like, "Come on and love. I am Yuri Geller." It's the worst fucking album I've ever heard in my life. It's so '70s though. Who are these other people that are so silent?
I don't know.
It's me. I'm one of them.
Well,
Um,
Bex, we still have Big Brother. You want to get that going?
mhm.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go practice. So
Good. I feel good that you're at least getting some practice in because I don't. I would feel a lot of guilt if you were what's
no,
holding you
no, no,
back.
no, 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 no. I like
Mhm.
coming here. I came here because I
Yeah,
wanted.
I,
I
I
like it.
like I like having you,
Thank you.
but I also I want to. I like Beck said. I like to see people grow and develop too.
Yeah. Well, I have all night to freaking practice, so
Okay.
you're not stopping me from anything.
Well, I might be back out later. I might not. I might take a little panel break for a while. If you don't see me the next day or so, don't freak out, people. I'm resetting and
Mm,
processing. I'm having it's like positive disintegration. I've talked about it before. There's some disintegration going on. And what I've realized disintegrates are the narratives and the stories we tell ourselves about reality. And so those are being
Mhm.
replaced by more realistic stories. So that might take a few days to sift out.
well, do what you got to do, bro.
I be doing that.
Mhm.
All right, good seeing you. Oh, Bex, you asked
Yeah.
like a couple weeks ago if I had children for some reason, and I never
Mhm.
answered you. I don't have children. I never have and never wanted them.
Mm.
Do you think you'd make a good dad?
Oh, probably. I
Yeah,
mean, I'm a good dad to my bird, like I give him his
good
medicine
bird
every
dad.
12 hours. And yeah, I mean,
Okay,
and
that's
I love dogs and all that, so I would be good with kids.
Mhm.
But
Well, I appreciate you remembering. Now I'm trying to remember why I asked, but it could have just been out of interest. Um,
uh,
you know. But yeah, I think most of us, most people, as much as everyone likes to say, "Oh, get your children, have your children young," or whatever, or specifically even with women, let's say the women should have their children young. I know that I would have made a better and better parent the older I got.
yeah,
Right.
well,
So.
because you get wiser.
Hmm. Hmm. And become less OCD. Like I know that I would have been the kind of mom that cleaned up the toys all the time because I couldn't handle like the Lego mixed in with the crayons or whatever. Like it would have like
Yeah,
I would have been glitching, you know. And in order to not get upset with the children trying to do something like that, because they would make those kinds of quote unquote mistakes, I would have then eventually likely begrudged my own children for having to clean up behind them all the time, not realizing it was a manifestation of my own obsessive behavior.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah. So I know, like, at least now, if I had kids, I'd be like, whatever, I don't care. Throw your toys in the garbage. I don't, um,
Yeah.
just an
Throw your
example.
toys in the garbage.
Yeah. I just don't care as much. I'm not as much of a perfectionist or whatever it
Yeah,
was that
yeah,
had me
yeah.
catch those kind of details. I just
Yeah,
don't care.
you realize that it doesn't really matter in the end.
Yeah, yeah.
Was, are you an antinatalist? Are you part of the human extinction movement? You care about plants and grass that much?
Well, I'll see you guys
Might
later.
be.
Have a good day.
Take care,
Good to
Zach.
see
You
you,
too.
Zach.
All right, Joe. What you
Hello,
got?
Joe.
And I don't hear any. I
Uh
don't hear any singing.
oh, you want me to sing?
Only because you set the expectation.
Okay, okay.
Trust. This is
I'll
about
meet the
trust.
expectation. You say
Hey,
yes, I
but don't get me
say no.
copyright struck. So don't sing it too well. It has to
Okay.
beat the algorithm.
You say stop, and I say go, go, go.
I think that'll do it. Yeah.
You say goodbye, and I say
Say
hello.
hello.
Hello,
Yeah, and
hello. I don't know why you say goodbye. I say hello.
that's the
Is that too
perfect
much?
song. You have a
Okay,
keen sense of timing.
there we go.
Do you have any further thoughts?
Uh, children. Well, it's easier to have them when you're young, especially women. Um, Men aren't as restricted by age in that regard, but it is also true that you will probably make wiser decisions as a parent if you're older, because you're probably more capable of making wiser decisions overall if you have them when you're older. Um, that's just the unfortunate thing about the biological clock is you're racing against that. You know, you might get much of your wisdom after the clock is finished ticking.
Does does that drive some of women? Like somebody
Hmm.
talked the other day about like deep primal instincts that motivate women. Would that be one of them?
Well, I know that there are some women like when they hit 30, it like starts to hit them that they haven't had children. I've heard that
Oh,
some women talk about that, and it like gives them like a pre midlife crisis or something. Whereas that's
I
not
don't
a thing a
know.
man's gonna realize.
It definitely created some sort of dissonance in me in that I was always very motivated to have children, but also wise enough to know that I did not have the communication skills to have a good relationship with a man, to have all the things in place to have them. So I really wanted them, and I would have taken some quote unquote risk to have that happen randomly, sensibly though. And I'm grateful that it didn't happen because I wouldn't have been able to do it alone, and I wouldn't have made it an easy partner to have in co-parenting. So, but I definitely, that's all that motivated me at all.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, it would have served me very well to actually spend more time with people who had relationships, had children, had successful marriages, to sort of study that, than being the single flailing woman who desired to have children but also didn't know how to achieve the skill set to do it. And I get it that people are going to make a joke about like she didn't get laid enough or whatever. That's not what I mean. So
I
I just
think
mean like,
parents develop the skill set from raising children. I don't know if there's a like you can
mm,
acquire the skill set ahead of time because you don't know what you're going to end up with.
it's
well,
true.
you might get more experience working with other people's children before you become a
I
parent,
mean, you
and
could
so
if you if you were that invested in a child, you wanted to go
yeah,
out and work with other kids first and then
I
have the
had
baby. But I don't know if
lots
that's
of
the norm.
yeah. I had lots of experience with children, be it from babysitting, or my stepmother started having children when I was 15 till 20. So, they were around at the right age to learn all the skills to take care of the child. It was me being aware of my inability to communicate with the opposite sex, right, and not blaming them for it. It was as much my shortcoming as the shortcoming of the men I chose to engage with, right. um, so I'm grateful that it didn't happen. It wouldn't have been easy for me, my partner, or my children, even if I developed the skills along the way. But I wanted to say one thing. It gets overlooked. Just because men can have children as they age, at way past the age of women, one of the things that doesn't get stated often enough is that oftentimes in fertility treatments, it is the declining semen count of the older men that needs to be worked on when they choose to have children with their partner when they're both older. So this isn't a feminist statement.
So it's not just
This
the
is,
eggs that go
yeah,
help!
down.
it
I'm
is
being
important.
attacked by
Yeah,
third rate feminism.
It's just important that men be aware that, just because someone has had a child at 70 or 50 doesn't mean that all men easily procreate at that age. They do have the ability to, and with all the science we have now, it is typically very easy. Like, it's definitely, if you're willing to involve fertility, you're fine, right? You're fine.
I'm gonna be
So,
like Ramses
um,
II of Egypt. I'm gonna have 5 kids a year every year of my life until I die at like the age of 95.
With who?
All my concubines.
Oh. Speaking of, how is
mm,
the
mm.
stock girl going? How's that going?
Stock girls. Oh,
Oh, okay. The one you were texting on here
oh,
yesterday.
well, I'm not courting her. She's not somebody I'm courting.
Is she courting you?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Well, that's an update. We didn't even know
I,
that. So,
yeah, I never did say I was courting her, so it's just I just left the blank unfilled for imaginations to work their
well, that's
wonders.
where the imagination would likely go, absent
Hmm.
additional information.
The positive drama. Like, ooh, Joe's got a girlfriend. Da, da, da.
Or yeah, like, well, do you have any Tinder updates? Or you said you deleted it?
I deleted Tinder a couple weeks ago, and
Oh,
the therapist I was talking to said it's probably just a bad idea to use dating apps. They agree that those are probably not good for people.
I think it's a tool, and it depends on the user. And I think
Yeah,
some people are capable of using it just fine, and others not. Just like porn and violent video games and rap music and all the other stuff that humans have agency when they engage with.
I definitely feel like I do not have agency on the dating app. So that
Oh,
maybe that
well,
means
you
it's
do. You may not feel like you do, but I guarantee you still have your agency.
so maybe that means it's not a good tool for me, right? And so I don't know. We'll see. At this point, I don't really have anything I would call an active lead.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
But you're kind of relying on the social events you've been going to lately to
yeah.
make
Just
contact.
see if things can occur organically. I mean, long term, I think um, the best way is going to be something somewhat inadvertent, and it will probably be come with the assistance of like another woman or other women, like them facilitating things.
Oh, like a matchmaker.
Kind of. So like the one girlfriend I had, I got her because we both worked at the same place. This was at Starbucks. So we both had the same boss. This is the same boss I mentioned before, who I think is the best boss I've ever had. She introduced us, and let's just say she did a lot to talk me up of her own accord. Like, I'm just sitting there on my break in the back room. I got like a 10-minute break. I'm just on my phone. She brings her to the back during training. My boss is like, "Oh, this is Joe. He's so great." Blah blah. And I'm like, "What?" And I think that was important because I got the immediate like stamp of approval as a first impression, and I've never had that like scenario play out before where I meet someone with such a blessing basically. And I think I started out with sort of having positive social status in her eyes, and that probably made me seem more attractive than I would have otherwise.
Oh, yeah. That can buffer status.
Right. Right. And not only that, it was not only from our boss, but from another woman. Right. So I think that's what helped. And that is the
You're
one
right. You need a
exception.
wing woman. That's what you
Yeah.
need.
That was the one exception in which I got a girlfriend. Is I had it's the like initial catalyst to it all was another woman giving her stamp of approval. So
Here we
I
go.
expect that I expect that's how it would probably materialize again, as if um, I'm just being me, have some female friends, and then they sort of connect me with an opportunity, maybe without even my own prompting, right?
Yeah, just turn yourself over to the women. Put yourself in their hands. And remember you have agency.
Yeah, not a lot. So you're right. But I think the way me being cool as a shit works in my favor is it get women start talking about it for me, like they become my own advertisers. Whereas, like, if I say, "Hey, I'm cool as a ship," it doesn't mean the same thing. But if another woman is doing that, then um, I think it's more believable then. Right? Of course, I'm going to talk myself up, but Um, if someone's essentially already done the vetting, then I think that's what helps. The freak says this will not happen again. I would agree that she was a unique person in which you could do that could happen in a workplace and it would work out okay.
I
Hold on,
think
Liz, if I
though that
yeah.
I mean it
Mhm.
kind of depends on what kind of woman you're looking for. You know, I would say that if a woman needs a stamp of approval from another woman to date a man, if I were a man, that's not the woman I'd be looking for.
I don't think it's so much of a need thing, but it's like it's something that to people in general seems compelling.
Mm. Like we like social acceptance of the peers around us,
Yeah, like
to
social
support what we're
proof, right?
doing.
Like if I
Yeah,
see Jeff get along with someone, um, then maybe I know that they are probably all right? Whereas if I see Jeff
yeah.
struggling to get along with someone, I might think maybe this person is a bit of a problem, right?
I don't know if I'm a good person to use for that because I,
Mhm.
I I can struggle to get along with people that I do have good relationships. We could have little moments of struggle here and there, and if you catch me in one of those, you might make an assumption about the person that I wouldn't necessarily make.
Well, yeah. um not to support that specific statement you said about yourself, Jeff, I didn't mean to say yes at that point. What I was going to say though was that maybe this, in some cases maybe that's where like churches and religions actually have a benefit to the group, right? Because typically you're going to pick someone within your own faith, and then the
Yeah.
people close to you in that community are going to say, hey, that's a good match or not match, you know. Whereas now with us, not coming together like as a melting pot of faiths and communities and belief systems, we do start looking to the people, um, you know, that we like and respect for that kind of sense of community and acknowledgement as support in a choice of relationship. Um, yeah. I know that lots of women out there, lots of my friends could give two shits whether whether they accepted a boyfriend or not. But maybe that's because I'm a pretty strong charactered woman and I attract that in the girlfriends that I have. So like if I disproved of my friend's relationship, she'd just tell me to fuck off. She doesn't give a shit,
Mhm.
you know? So you kind of implicitly, at least in the strongest female connections I've had, I choose to support my friends, provided there's no reason not to, i.e., like, suddenly my friend's, shooting up, or, my friend's coming up with a black eye, or her boyfriend's coming up with scratches, or, stuff like that, right? Like,
Mhm.
um, but even then, sometimes it's hard to connect with people on that front. So oftentimes you just distance yourself, right, from a friendship where your friend's in a relationship with someone that you don't really have anything nice to say about. So you don't really have much to say, you know?
Mhm.
And then you become isolated and end up in the Panelverse,
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
even more isolated among an ocean of people.
Yeah, and then that ocean of people ends up talking about ideals in an echo chamber and become too idealistic and specific in their expectations of one another, which is manifested actually. I don't even think you need to be in that. Actually, I'll retract that, because we're already in a world where it's okay to communicate. I've never online dated, but I'm assuming this happens regularly. You communicate back and forth. You meet in person. It's not there. Now you're ghosted. The account's
Mhm.
deleted. Boom, done. And move on. And you just have to deal with that, right? So it doesn't even necessarily have to be in an echo chamber. Yeah, people will make abrupt decisions without communication when there's been communication up until that point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's going back to trust. That's a perfect example. Like when you spend time, but like so Joe, stocks, you invest, you manage your risk, you're building the
Mhm.
trust, you're building the friendship, and just abruptly, like out of the blue, for like it just plummets to zero, like in a second over some little random event. I think that's much more likely on the internet than in real life.
Yeah,
That
I agree.
volatility.
Definitely. So it's like, I mean, dating apps are on the internet, right? And you'll be having a pleasant conversation with a match. and suddenly they just disappear for no reason, right?
Hmm.
In real life, that doesn't happen. In real life, you'll bump into that person again, and you'll at least get an idea of what happened. Um, but the internet people just disappear, and it can have seemingly no cause.
Yeah.
Well, and that's where I would say that, this concept of trolling for one's own personal entertainment gain that could happen on YouTube, don't think it can't happen in dating apps, you know, um,
Oh yeah,
that there
like
could, yeah,
catfishing and
that
all of
there's,
that.
yeah. Well, and even just men choosing to be men, or women, or like men pretending to be women, women pretending to be men because they've got they're just bitter and they actually want to fuck around with people. I would say that on some of these dating sites, there would be people that just want to fuck with other people for their own
I
personal
use
gain.
dating sites as a like for very short term as a means to move to another platform, either phone, video, in person, etc. So most of the courting is not on the dating app. That's just the initial introduction or point of contact. Or people on
I used to,
catfish.
before the dating sites, and even as the dating sites became um, a thing, I read Craigslist's ads
Yeah.
for entertainment, and I really did. I scanned those every day, just to study the human condition, to the point where I saw people serially chasing after a carrot they were never going to get, before the dating apps took advantage of that. Right. So there were, and now I don't know, maybe these people were rejected for right causes, but when you see somebody who's got putting up the same ad or some variation thereof for 5 years on Craigslist, then how seriously are about meeting someone, or are they, I judge some people by their inability to hook up. Now I know that sounds, I wasn't there, I was just studying the people, right? So some people want the chase, some people want it's the same as the old bar scene, right? So if you're somebody who's posting and wanting a long-term relationship, but you're serially in that dating app, I think the app itself creates an environment for you to idealize what you want and become too picky, perhaps, you know, men and women. So both men and women. That being said, it could have just been a cover up for, some people can't tell themselves they don't want a long term relationship. They just want to hook up. So they hide under the guise of morals and values that they don't actually even have, you know? So I don't know. I didn't date on dating apps because I'm just, I definitely had my share of dating when I was younger, and I didn't have strict enough criteria. And I would have just, yeah, I wouldn't have been a healthy environment for me. I would have been someone who reinforced not finding something, I think. But I do have friends that are married and met on dating apps. So, and have kids and everything
Oh
now.
yeah,
So,
like half the men on Craigslist were married men.
mm, true.
At least in my small area.
But I also thought, I mean, amazing. Always found, like, as I read, I didn't really go into the hookup one very often because it had too many pictures. Wasn't my thing. Because at that time, people could put their
Oh yeah.
explicit
Oh yeah. So
pictures of
you probably didn't
themselves.
see my ads. Yeah, those are ads that do like you can legitimately recycle those for 5 years.
Yes, yes. But I would sometimes go in there just because I was amazed, I was amazed at how forward and direct people could be, in stating what they want and how they want it. And, I was just like, wow, put it all out there on the line.
Why not? Truth in
Yeah, exactly.
advertising. Just
Yeah, it's
cut to the chase.
it's uber anonymous. So,
You lose some of that. Like, there's a certain like excitement and tension that builds up as you do that little dance. To me, if they're just too straightforward, it takes some of the magic out. But I guess it facilitates getting whatever they're looking for.
I wonder if dating
well, I guess,
apps are helpful for autistic people.
I when I started online dating through AOL in like 90, let's say 99, and I've never looked back. Like I've never. even tried to date in person since. They're my go-to because it has so many advantages. You can see the people ahead of time. You can target the ones that fit like you can. There's so much pre stuff you can do to try to home in on the right person for you that you don't get just randomly talking to people in person.
Yeah, with people in person, it's all a matter of like sort of bumping into somebody who's going to meet a large
And you
amount
and
of
you
your
don't you
criteria.
can't like instantly pull up all their background information and read it in like the first
Hmm.
minute you're meeting them. And you can do it on a dating app before you even talk to them. So you have some sense of who they are.
Yeah, you pull up all their information on
Yeah,
hollow
it cuts
screens like
through
Tony Stark.
it accelerates the getting to know part.
But yeah,
It's interesting. This stuff ties into trust somewhere, you know?
yeah, but it's interesting
Like
for me is I don't find that the online stuff has been useful. The one thing that worked for me was something that happened purely in person.
Yeah,
I
that's I think that's what you keep doing.
I think it could be that certain personality types online might be a better initiator for them, and then other folks, it's probably difficult for them to convey what their worth is through like an online profile, and things in person would um, need to occur.
And I say use whatever works, or use more than
Hmm.
one method. Just keep spread yourself as wide as possible. Pardon the pun.
Well, I don't want my dates to spread themselves as wide as possible.
I'm not going to speculate on how wide they might have to spread. In
eventually you
fact,
might.
It
oh,
depends on what's
okay.
spreading, you know.
Yeah.
So, oh wow, Big Brother, you say? Yeah, we should go finish that up.
Yeah, I might I was just gonna say to you, would you rather watch them concurrent, like right after the other, or because if you do, I might need a bit of time for some self-care before we do.
Oh yeah, no,
Um
whatever works for you. We don't even have to do it right now.
okay, let's do that just because I slept in today. I had such a great sleep. Oh my gosh. I slept so soundly. I love it when I wake up from that. But I've been here ever since I got up, and I should probably just go get a few things done before I sit down to watch some TV.
Okay.
So
Or if you want, we can watch like one and then take a break and come back because the first one I think is only 45 minutes.
yeah,
Either
yeah, that
either
would
way,
work for me too.
whatever works for you.
Yep, that works for me.
Okay. Well,
Okay,
I'll wrap
I'll
up
meet.
here and head to Discord, I guess.
Okay, I'll see you over there.
All right.
Nice to
Thanks,
see you, Joe,
Bex.
and thanks for hosting, Jeff. It was a treat to be here, and same to everyone in chat. And I'll catch you next time. Bye for now.
Well, thank you for coming up. I'm honored to have you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Joe, Mr. Accord, what are you leaving us with?
Um, I don't you know, I don't have anything to leave with today. Sometimes nothing is fine.
Okay. I'll take the nothing. As long as it's not Discord.
Certainly not.
That's coming up.
Exactly.
Okay, well, I will talk to you again.
All right. Catch you later, Jeff.
Okay. Take care. Ciao. All right. Hopefully we have a I don't know. At least we started the conversation. I don't know if I'm any closer to figuring out how to figure out who to trust, but at least the conversation is out there. Yeah, you too, Britt. Good to see you again. And I I don't know when I'll be back, but whenever I'm back, I look forward to seeing everybody. So we'll do it again. All right, take care. We're going watch reality in Discord.